Welcome to Truth UnCompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by sourcevibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
You have entered into a dimension of truth, where time does not exist and illusions are shattered. The journey of truth is intense. The journey of truth will set you free. Consider this a warning as you enter the dimension of truth uncompromised.
All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is December 5th. We have a great show planned for you. We are continuing with our series, The Real Pilgrams, the true story of immigrants coming to America. We are on part 7. So if this is your first time joining us, I do want to give you 2 of our main sources for this series, 2 books. The first one is They Were White and They Were Slaves, The Untold History of the Enslavement of Whites in Early America by Michael A. Hoffman II. And then White Trash, 400-Year Untold History of Class in America by Nancy Eisenberg. Okay, so with that said, we are going to go ahead and get started. I am going to bring on my co-host. Okay, I haven't seen Sis make it in the queue yet, so let me bring on Brother Sean. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Wholeness and power, sis. I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to hear your voice.
Likewise. Likewise.
All right. All right. Before I get started, because I do have a couple follow-up items, do you have any go-ahead on with the fuckery for the family tonight?
Yeah. For those that are still emotional about the impeachment show, it's a show.
Yep.
But I forgot majority of the people get emotional by everything they see on TV anyway.
Right.
They controlled by that box.
Yep.
But the thing is to understand what you're looking at. And looking at it without emotion. Most people not even listening to what's being said and what's not being said because they're emotional. Too much hate involved. But that's a reflection of self.
Right.
And the self-hatred that you won't let go of. Because all of that has nothing to do with you. It's not going to stop you from going to work. It's not going to stop you from paying taxes. Whether he get impeached or not, you still going to go to work. You still going to pay taxes. And you still going to be getting screwed. Y'all just don't want Trump to screw you. Even though the only people he been screwing is the people that hate him. Now, his fellow politicians, they have a reason to hate him. They losing everything and being executed. Y'all ready to see that? Or are you only satisfied with seeing our people kill each other in the streets, sharing the videos on social media, laughing about it? World star. But when real criminals get put to death, y'all get emotional. When real criminals and real crime is being exposed, y'all think it's bullshit. It's the issues that are at hand that you're overlooking. Child trafficking, human trafficking, organ harvest, pedophilia. If we're the majority, what do you think the majority of the people are that are being caught up in all that? But no, you got your favorite masters you want to listen to. You got your favorite news channels and your favorite news anchor characters that you want to listen to. Not using a bit of common sense. But then again, that's what television programming is all about. Fuckery.
Indeed.
I'm done.
All right, brother. I do have something to go ahead on with the fuckery before I go into some follow-up items. There is it was a video going around earlier this week on Facebook speaking on it was this one young lady out of Atlanta talking about how someone was trying to abduct her little cousin. And so the area that the lady was describing, I know it very well. Over in College Park, those of you in Atlanta, Circle K gas station, because she was on her way to work. So, long story short, the lady had to, the young girl rather, had to go to the gas station, and this other lady in the gas station saw this guy coming up behind her, and the gas station lady saw the terror in the young girl's eyes and said, "Can I help you?" And so the brother left. So the young girl was telling the lady that he kept following her and he just felt he was going to try to snatch her up or something. So they called the police because that area is East Point. Those of you in Atlanta, you know what I'm talking about. So I guess because that Washington Road is on the border of College Park, East Point. So when they called the police, the East Point police came. So basically the police said they couldn't do nothing about it, this, that, and the third, this, that. So I guess they took down the report, whatever. So the young girl, I can't remember, she said the young girl had wound up going to work because she worked in that mall close by, and one of those stores at the mall, one of the strip malls. So she said that she saw the same dude that was trying to abduct her sitting down at the motherfucking restaurant eating. So the lady's point was, it's like this shit is common. So he wasn't even scared that anyone was going to try to come after him, this, that, and the third, because he just literally went right up the street. And anybody that knows that area, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is literally right up the street. And I don't know which restaurant it was, because there's plenty of restaurants on that strip, and was sitting down with his damn legs crossed, enjoying him a little meal. So, couple of days later, there was this big sting in Atlanta of folks being busted for sex trafficking. And I don't know how many people, I can't remember, I should have counted them. Could have been close to 10 people, all of them melanated with the exception of one white dude, all melanated, combination of men and women. Now, those that have lived in Atlanta, we know that sex trafficking is a huge thing, specifically prostitution. Atlanta was known for prostitution. And, back in the day, what I was told around the Freaknik times is that, the prostitutes was making a lot of money back then, woo-woo, this, that, and the third. So it wasn't so much of trafficking back then as it was people just volunteering to do the stuff to get their money on. Literally, prostitution was so bad in Atlanta that it was a whole boulevard Guess what the boulevard was named, Sean, Brother Sean? I can't make this shit up. People from Atlanta, you know what name I'm about to say. It was Stewart Avenue.
Mm.
Prostitution was so bad. Yeah. That whole strip was dedicated to prostitution. And they literally had almost, now those of us from the South that you grew up around Big Mama and them, and I'm probably dating myself, my old country ass, but, some of our grandparents from down South didn't have bathrooms in the house. So they had outhouses, all right? So you'll know what I'm talking about. It looked like this little hutch built out of wood, barn. Prostitution was so bad back in Atlanta, back in those times, during them Freaknik days, that they had built these miniature hutches with just a bed in there. So people can just come and screw. Big time pimps back in the day, making big money. And literally, one pimp, his ass is locked up now, literally had bought an entire block of real estate. And behind it was the motherfucking expressway. And he had built in the back of these houses, those hutches I've described to you. Now, those hutches still exist. This is how I know what I'm telling you, because I've driven there and seen the shit myself. And they were pointing out to me, yep, this whole block was this particular pimp's area. And sure enough, it backed up to the expressway, and people would tell me that they would have the prostitutes, or the prostitutes would stand in the back on the expressway and, do their little advertisement. And the hotels right in that area, nothing but prostitution. So I'm telling you all this to just give you a history of how prostitution was really, really big in Atlanta. And then they started locking up those big time pimps. And a lot of them are still in jail. Some of them are just getting out. So these new pimps, after, they kind of busted that up, and then they, got rid of Freaknik, because it was a lot of fuckery going on with Freaknik, which is sad, because it started out with something with the college kids kicking it, this, that, and the third, and it turned into something else, and then, women were being raped and assaulted. I never been to Freaknik, but, just to hear people tell me about it, they said in the early days, it was definitely fun. It was partying. It was kicking it. And then as time went on, it kind of got out of control. I do remember when Freaknik happened, it would bring the city to a standstill. You couldn't even move on the expressway. So they shut all of that shit down, and then it started bringing to the forefront all of this sex trafficking with young girls. A lot of the young girls were running away from home. I don't know if they were meeting these dust bag pimps and running away because of that. They calling that their boyfriend, or if they were simply abducting them. So that has started to become in the forefront news in the early 2000s in Atlanta. And so now it just never stopped, in other words. So I'm telling you all to tell you, just kind of, add on to what Brother Sean is saying. This was not the quote, quote, white man doing this. This was melanated on melanated crime and fuckery. So I say all that to say that, we as melanated folk, it's time to really clean up our shit. And stop the lying to ourselves. It don't matter if, you want to lie to me or lie to someone else. We're talking about lying to your individual self. And I say again, it starts with self. It starts in your own household. It starts with calling things out for what they are and not participating in the fuckery. And until we can do that, take care of self, it's always going to be chaos. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront, because when we hear about trafficking, a lot of people think that, it's, first it was the white girl face on trafficking. Now, recently, you're starting to hear the media talk about missing melanated women, which had always been going on. Now it's starting to come to the forefront. But I want to make it clear, majority of it is melanated folks snatching these young girls into prostitution. Okay, so again, we're talking about melanated folks preying on other melanated folks. And that's why I always say, just because someone is melanated, and I don't give a damn who it is, that does not mean by one bit that they have your best interest at heart. It's our responsibility individually to take care of self and to take care of our family. That's the bottom line. So I just want to put that out there. That's my go ahead on with the fuckery. So.
Hey, sis.
Yes, Brother Sean.
The thing is, now the pimps are strip club owners. A lot of the sex trafficking and human trafficking
in Atlanta. Yep.
It's going on right now in these strip clubs. It's a lot of sex trafficking and human trafficking going on out of them. Pimps ain't got to be out on the street no more. They own a strip club. They own these web cameras.
That is very much so true. And it was interesting because one of contracts I was doing, it so happened to be I was doing some work at the courthouse, and I'm at the courthouse, and then all of a sudden I see these women coming in dressing provocatively, and I'm like scratching my head like, well, what the hell is going on? So the police guard was like, oh, yeah, baby, this is the day that the strippers come and get their license. I'm like, what do you mean their license? She said, oh, yeah, they're supposed to have a license in order to dance.
Mm-hmm.
I was just speechless, like, okay. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. And a lot of tricking happens in the strip club. And again, that's their business. If, adults want to trick, that's your MFing business. Don't get me wrong. What I am saying is the snatching up and sex trafficking of women against their will and minors, and I don't care if a minor is with it. No, it's wrong. It's wrong. It is wrong. And to show you how spiritually sick as a society that folk are, that it's okay to whore out women and children for profit. And that's why we keep telling you Everything that we see in the physical started in the spiritual. It's a mindset. And as we're going through this material, specifically this particular series, it is pointing out how the land grabbing and the stealing of the wealth and the using of the women to get to the wealth, it's all the same thing. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to say again, this is a spiritual war. It has no color on it. It is about energy. What level of vibration does that energy ring? And as a soul, you are supposed to be in tune to feel that vibration when the shit ain't right. And the sad part about it is when people show you, even if, okay, you haven't learned yourself enough to pick up spiritual energy, these folks show you who they are. But most still don't want to believe them because you're looking at color. And in the meantime, they're raping, pillaging, doing whatever the fuck they want to do. And we keep showing you series after series after series how this shit was not about color. That just happened in the last, 200 years? That it is about a certain type of energy that cannot function unless they are ciphering and feeding off of someone else's energy. So that's all I got to say on that. So, all right, here we go. Yes, and shout out to God Thompson 42 in the chat room. The corporation is getting part of the pie. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is all about commerce, and that's why I'm against a corporate system in general. Because it's pimphood. It's pimphood. You pimping the land and you pimping the women and children on the land. And I say again that as a collective, the indigenous people went against nature when we started allowing folks to do motherfucking commerce on the land, when there was no need for it. And now people act like they cannot function without a commerce system. They can't even wrap their mind around functioning without a commerce system. I hear over and over and over, and Brother Sean can attest because he hears it over and over and over again. It's about getting on top of the system or being able to run the system or getting it, quote, quote, fiat. The land is the last fucking priority on the list. And the only reason land would be on the list for some of them is to profit. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to say it again, you will never accomplish what you think you're going to accomplish. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And that's why it has not been successful, because you're out of natural order. you still have not graduated in your consciousness to get that you need to be in tune and everything naturally, you have what you need. Not with striking no deals behind the scenes, with the same system you say that's oppressing you and you don't like. I just personally don't get that. So it is what it is. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
It's also saying that they have authority over you because you're asking them for something. And if the very foundation of the system is fraudulent, everything that takes place within it is fraudulent.
Mm-hmm.
It's a colonial tool. Okay, you have those that say that some of the ancestors wrote that. That may or may not be true.
They did. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
But the thing is, that was to be given to their pets so they would know how to act in society. That's just a list, a partial list of our natural rights, period. We're in tune with natural laws in our DNA. They needed written laws to know how to act. So wasn't none of that shit supposed to ever pertain to us anyway. It was a colonial tool. They got turned around and used against them. Used against any of us who believe in that shit.
Exactly.
It's all fraudulent. They tell you they came over here and took shit. They tell you that these they laws and that's what you're supposed to follow by. And you think because you submit papers to them that they're going to relinquish what they have? I understand maybe a few people that's getting paid by them. That's mainly to keep hope alive for all the rest of the people to stay within the system.
Mm-hmm.
It's bribe money, hush money, whatever you want to call it. The bottom line is the whole system has to go.
Has to go. Yep.
It's a colonial system. It's not natural. Now, whether melanated people created it or not, they were conquerors. That's how they were able to write down what they wanted.
That's right.
What is it they say? The victors get to write history?
Yep.
So, I mean, if people like riding in that low vibrational colonizer spirit and want to be descendants of the colonizers and want to claim everything the colonizers did, there's karma waiting for them.
Exactly.
And with claiming their conquest, you share in that karma.
That's right.
But you didn't hear that from me.
Right. And, you bring up such a good point, Brother Sean, because I think I've already said this a couple times, but I'm going to say it again. When we take on these titles that we don't get why we're taking on these titles and, the information that we've gone through and how we've shown that melanated, and I'm using quotation on that, folks ruled the planet, created these systems, enslaved people, went to war with other melanated folks to take over their land. And so now that melanated folks don't run things, although I say behind the scenes, there's still a few melanated folks that really run things, but that's neither here nor there. Now that melanated folks don't run things, we're not entering overstanding that even that's a form of karma within itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's a karma. And that's what we're trying to convey. And that's what we are trying to say. Break the curses in your bloodline. Break the curses. But if we take on these identities and we're repping what the ancestors did when they was fucking wrong, oh, okay, so you just want to keep the fuck shit going for you and your bloodline. And if that's what you want to do, that's cool too. Do you. But we've already been shown what happens when you go against natural order. You're living it. We can't fucking sink no lower than we are now. But if you're comfortable with that, that is your business. We're just putting it out there for you.
Yeah. Each name vibrates at a certain frequency.
Yep.
So beings trapped within that name generally vibrate at that frequency.
That is correct.
That's why they use knockoff names and rename things because they can't exist within that frequency in order to pretend that they are those people.
Yep.
But we can sink to a low enough vibration to give their creation eternal life.
Mm.
And that's what we do with every perversion that they give us, and we claim it. We give it life.
Yep.
People act like that. Oh, I just discovered. I just discovered something. We this, we that. What do you mean you just discovered it? Wasn't it written somewhere?
Right.
Weren't you able to go through their search engines and everything and find it where they put it?
Yep.
What have you went within and found out about yourself?
Exactly.
We talk about the ancestors, but how many of us are actually communing with them? And I'm not necessarily talking about some spirit that pop up in your house or this, that, or the other. I'm talking about the fact that they're within your very DNA. You exist, period, because they existed. You are the singularity of everything that all of your ancestors were and are.
That's right.
But how many of us go within and hear what your ancestors are truly telling you.
That's right.
But we prefer to listen to what we're told. We choose to try and fit within the parameters of the breadcrumbs that they've neatly laid out for us to go right into the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And you dig deeper and deeper into outside sources, which is the rabbit hole. And you come across all this information that takes you from here to there, to there, to there, to there, to there, to there. You're so busy finding information, you don't have the time to find yourself. But that's another story. But then again, it's the same
It
story.
is the same story. Yep.
You're looking for somebody to provide for you. There's Daddy in the sky to provide for you. When it rains, oh, thank you, Jesus. When it's sunny, oh, thank you, Jesus. When you eat something, oh, thank you, Jesus. But where did it grow from? I mean, shit growing every day, everywhere. It's air to breathe, everywhere.
Yeah.
And we know how it happens. The trees and, things like that, You know what the scientific breakdown is, but that ain't God or Jesus. That's mama. I mean, I ain't trying to take your religion away from you, but your religion is me and mine. But y'all like paperwork. So y'all getting work by that paper. But wait till mama finish working you. Go away. Popcorn, popcorn.
It's interesting, those that saw the movie Black Panther, one of the most powerful scenes in that movie was when the Black Panther guy, main character, died, and he went into the spiritual realm. And coincidentally enough, the spiritual realm had that same purple sky, Brother Sean, that you sent me the picture of that was right by your house. The same color. The same exact color. But anyhow, he went to the spiritual realm. And then his ancestors shape-shifted from the animals to who they really were. And they were by a tree. So the father was happy to see him, this, that, and the third. But he confronted his father about some foul shit that he did with leaving his nephew in the ghetto. And so the father was trying to justify it, and the Black Panther character shut him down and pretty much told him, because you did what you did, do you realize what you have created? And so the father was trying to get him to stay in that particular realm with him. And he was like, no, I got to go fix what you did. And this is what we're trying to tell you. It is our responsibility to fix the fucked up shit in our bloodline. It is our responsibility. That's why you're here at this time. So the choice is yours.
People worry about a purge. We've already been through a purge. Your memory has been purged. The purge happened mentally and spiritually.
And
that's why you're out of balance.
Exactly. This is hell shit. Whatever. Whatever. Clean up your own shit. That's what you're going to consistently hear from me and from Brother Sean. It starts with you. Nobody can do it for you. It starts with you. If you can't control self, if you can't control your household, if you can't control your block, how the fuck do you think you're going to control a system, a nation, control a spiritual realm? You're just fucking bullshitting yourself. You're lying to yourself. It all happens from within. You have the opportunity to break the generational curses in your bloodline through your thoughts and your actions. And no amount of savior, paperwork, none of that can do that for you. You're responsible for that. And that is especially true to those of us that come into this information. So, all right then.
Hey, sir.
Uh-huh.
To me, when certain books are presented to people, and when one of the primary commandments of that book is know thyself.
Whew, child.
Until people know themselves, you shouldn't go past that statement. It ain't another goddamn thing in that book that you should be looking at until you know who the fuck you are, so that you know what the rest of that means and how it pertains to you, if it pertains to you.
That's right.
But you go into it devoid of knowledge of self, and it's a book full of parables that could be made to fit to many things in life. The human body, the universe, as far as for astrology. It can be made to fit so many different things. It's a matter of perspective. There's more than one form of Christianity, but all you hear people say is Christianity. It's all magic.
It is magic.
And if you don't know who you are and know how magic pertains to you, what type of spells are you working, or is a spell being worked on you? Because you've given away all your power. You're not gaining any power through it. You're giving it away.
No.
If you know who you are, and your father is supposed to be this deity that knows all, the creator of all things, wouldn't that make you a god too? Shouldn't you be able to do all this, that, or the other? But you don't want to be a god like your father. you hope to die and worship at his feet for all of eternity. Not be a God yourself and create universes and have subjects that worship you. No, you looking forward, dying to worship at his feet.
At his feet, behind you.
Right.
But you came through a woman's portal and you live on a woman's vessel, but at his feet. Oh, okay.
Right. You can't wait to die to worship at his feet for all of eternity. And people be thinking 5, 10, 15 years is a long time. All of eternity worshiping at his feet. Just sit there and think about that for a minute. I don't care what you call it, but according to those scriptures, if you could make it through them gates, that's what you get to do. That's your ultimate prize.
Indeed. Indeed, brother. Indeed. Oh, boy. Okay. Shout out to the chat room. Scotty Saturn, Purple Pill, I Am the Universe, God Thompson 42. Shout out to you all. Scotty Saturn goes, yes, some call it the quickening, like the book Blue Light by Walter Mosley, where blue light evolves humans. Scotty Saturn also says, yes, parables and astrology and different histories put together and then later Masonic coded, added to the Bible. Absolutely. Absolutely. All righty. Let me bring in Brother 832 before I go into the readings. Peace and love, brother.
Rhonda, my sister from another mister. 7 hands up. United States of America down.
Indeed.
Sean, my brother from another mother, sitting on Mount Olympus, throwing them black lightning bolts down tonight.
Indeed, bro.
I don't know if you want to consider this an extended TV series review, but a spoiler alert, if we talk Watchmen, have either of you seen it yet?
Seen what? You kind of muffled, brother.
Watchmen.
Watch.
I need to put you on speaker, my Bluetooth. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I'll put you on speaker. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you clearly now. Yep.
The Watchmen, before I go into my rendition, the spoiler alert, have either of you seen it?
I did, but it was so long ago.
Not the movie, the series that's on now that just jumped off with the Tulsa Race Massacre. And Regina King,
definitely haven't.
the black female protagonist, is the central character.
No, I haven't seen it, brother. But go ahead on. That's okay. Do your thing.
Well, before I go into that, it was a lot of what you and Sean were kicking back and forth. I wanted to make generic comments about, but the thing of it is about carrying in our DNA, and what you're saying, and you repeatedly say about cleaning up the bloodline. And what I'm going to say about the Watchmen, we'll go into that in a bigger panorama, but I had wanted to particularly engage folks who had seen it and ask the question, why? First of all, why is our story being told this way? When you were talking about the bloodline issues, the sex trafficking, I would throw another log on interferon. Do you remember the controversy of the Atlanta child murders? And we don't hear anymore about interferon. Do you remember that?
Yeah. He actually
probably remember that.
Parole, and they denied it. But go ahead. They denied it. But go ahead, brother.
Well, interferon was supposed to have been a miracle drug that would cure everything down to the common cold. You know, but again, what were they doing with these children? If they snatched it, taking body parts, you know, kidneys, livers, pineal glands, melatonin, and a lot of cosmetics right now, they telling you straight out with stem cell research. Well, what is stem cell research? It ain't just dead fetuses, I might add.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people don't think about that too. About isn't it 1 million babies or fetuses minimum that are being aborted annually in this nation? Was it somewhere like 2/3 almost of them are teenage black girls?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was only half. That's 500,000 of our physical body, metaphysical essence, karmic energy. And I'm saying these things to put in the context of a parasitic situation. A parasite cannot exist without a host. And a parasite continues to feed on the host until it is drained, literally dry, killed, and moves on to a new host. Right? Now, those who have seen The Watchmen, and it's about 5, I think maybe 6 or 7 episodes deep now. It's getting close to wrapping it up. There's some things that's just been really boggling my mind. And like I said, it's a spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it. When you do see it, maybe it'll give you some insight depending on whether you saw the original movie. Back in the context of the original movie, you remember the blue character referenced as Dr. Manhattan?
Yes. That's my favorite character.
Dr. Manhattan got exposed to an atomic event trying to go into, he was a research scientist, say a nuclear physicist or something of that nature. He fell in love with another woman. They were scientists working on the same project, right? He went into this room to reclaim her watch that she had left behind. The room locked on a time mechanism that couldn't been opened. Then he had I guess you could say similar to Peter Parker and the radioactive spider. He ended up having an event where that explosion dematerialized his entire existence, right, to the molecular level.
Yes.
Then he reincorporated himself. The reason why I'm describing that is to deal with what you're talking about on a genetic level with DNA. Okay. Then when he reincorporated himself, he was all blue, right? He couldn't be all black. He would be all blue. Who makes their pantheons of gods blue?
The
so-called
Indians
from India? So-called.
India of Asia.
Well, I'm using that to start with first because now he's become a god amongst men, right? This was, again, taking place in the time continuum of 1985 with Richard Nixon having been reelected president 5 times. This is the alternate universe in the movie. Fast forward to 2019. In this alternate universe, in this timeline, Robert Redford has been elected president of the United States, which I guess is just as much believable as Ronald Reagan actually.
True that. He probably would have been better, but go ahead.
Okay, so now, in 2019, they kicked the series off with a reenactment of the race massacre in Tulsa, Greenwood Business District. And this sister, I don't know how much you remember from the movie about the Minutemen originally, and then it became the Watchmen. See, in the 80s, it became the Watchmen, but they were begun by the original 40s Minutemen. They called themselves the New Minutemen. The figures was Hooded Justice, Captain Metropolis, the comedian Silk Spectre, night owl, I'm just saying that to refresh your memory from the movie, okay?
Right.
But now are taking liberty with what was in the movie to this modern day version in 2019 because it's taking place in real time today. But their entire series focuses on white supremacy, Rhonda. They start with the reenactment of this race massacre. They end up with a single black male child that's one of the survivors that ends up, of course, first they thought that he's dead along with his parents. He ends up going off to New York as he grows and becomes an adult, turns into a police officer in NYPD, deals with the white Klan mentality of the cops and an organization they call the Cyclops. And they do a variation, that OK symbol that the white supremacists are now supposedly embracing now? Well, they turn this OK symbol, not with the first finger, but with the second finger, and put it over the pineal gland, or right in front of your forehead.
No. What?
Okay. Yeah, that's one. Second, guess who then becomes hooded justice? This black man who takes basically the metaphor of the white Klan robe and hood, turns it into a black hood with a noose hanging around his neck, because they actually, in a scene, strung him up as the lone black cop on the white NYPD force. They had another scene of an individual that he saw with his own eyes firebomb a Jewish delicatessen whose name was Fred. It just said Fred. But the business that he owned, the market and the warehouse, said FT and Sons. Some critics have written that that is an oblique reference to Fred Trump. Then, after he becomes hooded justice, in the timeline and the storyline of the Watchmen, he is hailed as the first Cape Crusader crime-fighting vigilante. However, he puts white pancake makeup on his eyes, so when people are seeing them through the hood, they perceive him to be a white man.
What? They are clowning in this. Oh, I'm going to have to watch this.
Now, the perversion comes in when Captain Metropolis, the blonde, blue-eyed individual who has organized the Minutemen and supposedly has figured out this black police officer who goes out at night being rogue and a vigilante, they have to throw a homosexual wrench in the storyline, my sister. But I won't spend time on that.
How that is, right.
For the deviancy to try to drag us into their filth and debauchery. But anyway, back to what's happening between him and the ultimate female protagonist, who is called Sister Night, as in sister with a nun's habit, and night as in black or melanated. That's the character she plays in the modern time because she became a police officer in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The reason why I'm saying this stuff for the backstory is to say she did not even know in her genetic makeup that her grandfather was a cop, that her grandfather was hooded justice, that he was a crime-fighting vigilante at night after being a cop by day. So I'm drawing those two parallels. Then, here's the kicker. They have a drug called nostalgia. Guess what this drug is for, my sister? It is a future genetically engineered treatment for Alzheimer's and dementia patients where they put a chip in a person's brain, harvest their memories, and put them into pill form so that when their condition worsens, they can take a pill and reclaim some of their history and their memory through this pill called nostalgia. Now, of course, something unforeseen circumstances becomes like crack and an opioid, because what people do is they start taking the drug because why live today when you can live in the past or whatever your perception is of a better day, You follow me? But this character, Sister Knight, the former detective, gets the pills and swallows them all. Because at this point now, the grandfather has come out of nowhere where she does not even know he's alive. He's over 105 years old. He comes back out of nowhere, causes the chief of police, who is the grandson of a Klansman who was a part of this Cyclops conspiracy that now is called the 7th Cavalry in the future, causes him to hang himself through mass hypnosis and a strobing flashlight. I know I'm wandering here describing these things, but I'm saying that to say what she does then is go and swab his mouth because she realized he's a possible murder suspect. But, I mean, who can believe a 100-year-old man in a wheelchair got a 200-pound man and hoisted him up by himself to hang him?
Right.
Okay. She takes the swab because now she's acting like a cop, a detective again. She takes the swab. Now, here's the kicker, my sister. To the Greenwood Cultural Center, where in this future time, the Treasury Secretary is Henry Louis Skip Gates, who then tells her to submit the swab to determine whether or not she is a descendant or her ancestor could be a survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre. Then when she gets the results and confirms that this old man in a wheelchair, 105 years old, is actually her grandfather. She then later takes the nostalgia pills and actually relives his life from the moment that his parents were bombed and blown up in the riot, to his becoming a cop, to his fighting the Klan in the NYPD, to becoming the hooded justice. And now it's coming back full circle by her. Now, here's what they use in the center, my sister. You put your swab in. They go and then do whatever genetic, research to confirm that you are a descendant of these particular people who were survivors of this horrific race massacre. Then when you come back, they provide you this thing that they call it an acorn, just like an acorn. When you put an acorn, a mighty oak tree comes out of an acorn, right?
Right.
You go and drop that acorn into the cylindrical kind of gizmo, and then they do a holographic representation of a tree with leaves, kind of like the stuff that Ancestry.com does on the internet. And then she starts getting the documented record of who her ancestry is. Now it's being brought full circle. And I said all that to again go back to get a response from you and Sean about why, W-H-Y, why do you think a series of this magnitude is now putting the primary focus on us? Why all of a sudden they are taking the metaphor of Tulsa Race Massacre, which of course is possibly one of hundreds, maybe thousands of communities. And here's another kicker, that the Klan mentality, bigoted folk, white supremacists say as a slur against people of color. Maybe you got those Redford. I guess it's a combination of Redford's name and reparations, because they have a law that was passed, which is similar to our argument going on today about reparations, that when you confirm, document, and reveal that you are a descendant of one of those survivors, there are reparations that are distributed to you. Now, I know I hit you with a lot there, but, again, this has been a very compelling thing.
Well, when you said Tulsa, I automatically, because I don't know if you all remember, and I forgot how we got on the subject. It was in Oklahoma came up and Tulsa came up before. And I said, okay, let's think about this. There's the Trail of Tears. We know about that. And all of a sudden in Oklahoma, you have these melanated folks that are like really, really wealthy, and they set up their own Black Wall Street, this, that, and the other. And I said, aren't they probably those Indians? Aren't they the Indians? And they got afraid
that were relocated under the Indian Removal Act.
Exactly.
The Indian Removal Act was in 1830. 100 years later, 1921, is when the race massacre happened.
Right, because they were big.
I'm saying they have been from that timeline, 1830, through the 1860, 1870, every 10 years, the census, these people were categorized as colored or mulatto. They would not designate them being Indian. At the same time, they let these $5 fraud, Mongoloid, Caucasoid, and some white people like Elizabeth Warren's ancestors get on the Dawes roll in the 1890s, going into the turn of the century in 1900. Let's not forget, in 1915, oil was discovered in Tulsa. That's not a coincidence.
Right. But those same folk, that was their land. That's how those folks became rich. That was their land. So instead of them, messing up,
technically,
they started, investing.
It wasn't their land because they were relocated from the East Coast, but by the time we're talking 100 years later, by them actually being forcibly moved there, they have come to have and develop a more authentic relationship with the land and their Aboriginal ancestors in Oklahoma.
Right, because didn't the story go, they thought they were moving them to the worst part of the land, and it so happened that the land they moved them to had oil on it. Isn't one of the richest black, and I'm using black in quotations, little girls from that same area, and she was an Indian?
Now, you are familiar with the phrase Oklahoma Sooner, right? The legend is, the colloquial phrase was, the sooner you get here, the sooner you can take this from these niggas.
Yeah, because we talked about
the
movie I was telling you about, yeah.
Yeah, but remember, and Chief Alonzo Langley says this very clearly. There were Negro Indians and there were Negro Africans. Both connotations given to us by these so-called pale-skinned Europeans who said we looked alike. And they continue to say that about us today, don't they? That we all look alike. That does not make us like. As you and Sean point out, blood is blood is blood. Now, it can't be amalgamated. We have gone through oppression, chattel slavery, colonialism, Jim Crow, constant invasion, and what they love to call the immigrant story. Now, again, and all this stuff is being lifted up. And by the way, that reenactment scene in the very first episode, they showed white people out of their evil, out of their jealousy, out of their envy, taking fine clothes, chandeliers, grand pianos out of these people's homes and businesses before they firebombed them. Okay? A lot of what's played out in the reenactment of this is pretty close to accurate of historical, factual record. Of course, it's being utilized in a fictional novel type.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I'm circling back to, again, it's a rhetorical question. We're conscious at a different level than our average, relatives, friends, loved ones.
Right.
Why, at this moment in time, and you already know, it's about commerce, as you say repeatedly. They are not trying to sell this to the majority population because when the closer it gets to the nerve, to the bone, to the truth, they ain't going to run out and embrace it. All right? And most of our people are still in a coma. And even the people in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the so-called black population, how much of them are actually knowledgeable of this? They show the actual Greenwood District reenacted, rebuilt, the like I talk to you about. They then throw this bone to Skip Gates and allow him to physically be in the storyline as this holographic welcoming kiosk when people go in there to look at all the exhibits and stuff. But at the end of the day, we're coming up on the century, the literal, actual 100th anniversary of this horrific thing. And we're still dumbed out, just like Sean's talked about this evening. That when we're talking about, and I've said all this to say again, how do we, it's a rhetorical question, but it's pertinent to what you all have said. How do we know thyself in this massive propaganda, barrage that we are succumbing to? And I yield.
Indeed. Thank you, Brother 832. Thank you. Good drop as usual. You made me. I got to put that on my list. I think I'm going to be catching up on that this weekend because in the chat room, Scotty Saturn and Purple Field, they know exactly what you're talking about on this particular series. So I'm definitely going to have to check that out because they're definitely giving subliminal shit. I ain't even going to say subliminal, y'all. That's pretty direct as far as I'm concerned when they're going to have Gates up in the mix doing some DNA analysis. And we know every analysis that he's brought back so far to the public, that shit's been bullshit. So I find it very interesting that they put it right in your face. And we say this all the time, in plain sight, because that's exactly what the fuck that is. Putting him up in the mix, analyzing somebody's DNA, giving heritage when we know the shit that he's doing on his little series, he's inaccurately, on purpose, not giving the right stuff. And then here they put him in the mix to analyze folks' DNA to tie you back to Tulsa. So y'all better think real good on that. You better think real good because we keep telling y'all about folks that want to tell you to do a DNA test to tell you where you originated from when all you have to do is look at your mama, your daddy, your grandparents, your great-granny, et cetera, et cetera. That's your motherfucking history. So y'all better take heed. You better take heed. If you're going to rely on a DNA test for somebody else to tell you who and what you are, to tie you back to land and to give you some form of monetary payment for that, when it's your responsibility to know your generations on where you came from. Nobody should have to tell you shit. You should know. Do your research. Talk to your elders. And for my millennials, your elders, they're not living, Big Mom and them, get up in them records. Go to your parents, go to your aunties, them, get them, your grannies, them maiden names. Do that research. Don't rely on them DNA tests. Don't do it. I'm telling you. And because they tell you plain as day, it's for entertainment purposes only. Nobody can tell you who you are but you and your family. So, but very, very good drop, Brother 832. And I'm definitely going to check that series out ASAP. Because that, yeah, they think they slick with it. So, yeah, thank you for that. All right, family. I have two follow-up things. And 832, the second one, I know you're going to be like, in the amen. section, but I'm going to start with the first one. This is shout out to Sis Cheryl. I pulled this information from a post that she put out. I think we've talked about this before. We've been telling y'all for years, but again, don't nobody want to believe. And that's fine if you don't believe, because I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm just reminding you that we've told you all this for years. But here you go. China's artificial sun, and this is out of the Tech and Science publication. And it came out on November 26th. China's completed artificial sun to start operation in 2020. China's HL-2M nuclear fusion. All right, so brother 832, you just talked about that nuclear fusion. I lost my damn place. That's what the hell I get. Sorry, y'all. All right. China's HL-2M nuclear fusion device burns with the power of 13 suns. Plural, 13. I just want to point out, 13 in numerology means hidden. Okay? All right, so we're going to keep reading. Chinese scientists are working on harvesting the energy of the sun, but it's not solar energy. Okay, so right there is a fuckery and a contradiction within itself, because you can pull energy from the sun. The sun emits energy. The air emits energy. The country has developed its very own artificial sun, a nuclear fusion research device that is supposed to pave the way for clean energy similar to the real sun. So I'm going to pause again. Isn't that kind of contradictory? If you have the natural sun, and I'm going to say plural, suns, plural, why would you need to build something artificial to harvest energy? So right there, they're talking out there. But that's okay. We're going to keep going.
Hey, but what I'm wondering is...
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
How do they know it burns 13 times hotter than the sun? I mean, what did they measure the sun's temperature with?
Exactly.
And for them to know that, who or what got fried in the process of them testing it? But I digress.
Indeed. All right, so then it goes on to say the completion of the reactor was announced on Tuesday and is expected to start operation in 2020, Xinhua News reported. The actual name of China's artificial sun isn't that poetic. It's called HL-2M, and it was built by the China National Nuclear Corporation and the Southwestern Institute of Physics. The reactor is located in Lishan, Sichuan province, where it was built to research fusion technology. Although it is being referred to as a sun, the device can actually reach temperatures 13 times hotter than our star. The HL-2M will be able to reach 200 million degrees Celsius, 360 million degrees Fahrenheit. By comparison, the sun only gets as hot as 15 million degrees Celsius, 27 million degrees Fahrenheit in its core. Why so hot? The fusion process in the sun relies on forcing atoms to merge which releases heat that can be transformed into energy. Okay, now they just, within this one sentence, they already told you what nuclear fusion is about. And I cannot find this video, family. This one gentleman did a YouTube video with water, and water was boiled, and he was able to conduct energy off of that water. So basically, he was able to recreate this nuclear fusion. All right? Okay, so that's my point. They're telling you right there how fusion is actually generated. All right, this is the opposite of what happens in current nuclear fission plants. They're lying. What they said up top, the fusion process in the sun relies on forcing atoms to merge, which releases heat that can be transformed into energy. Okay, that's how they're doing it. Okay, but in the next sentence they go, this is the opposite of what happens in current nuclear fission plants, which rely on splitting atoms, typically those from uranium. The result is energy that is cleaner and cheaper than current nuclear options, resulting in less toxic waste, according to scientists. But there's a problem. It's hard to achieve. And I'm sorry I can't find that YouTube video. I'll try to find it again. But this gentleman, when he kind of mimicked how to create energy through water and heat, his point was, that is why, and I told you all this several times, that water is a conductor of energy. His whole premise of the video was they're lying totally about how they are producing energy on this planet. And they're harvesting the energy from the air and through the water, okay? So anyhow, the result is energy that is cleaner and cheaper than current nuclear options, resulting in less toxic waste, according to scientists. But there's a problem. It's hard to achieve. Physicist Professor Zhao from Beijing Taizhenghua University told the South China Morning Post in July that scientists around the world still had many problems to overcome in the field of nuclear fusion. There is no guarantee that all these problems will be solved, but if we don't do it, the problem will definitely not be solved, he said. The way reactors reproduce what the sun does at its core is by using a donut-shaped chamber known as tokamak. The HL2M uses hydrogen and deuterium gas as fuel to stimulate a nuclear fusion reaction by injecting them into the device and, I can't make this up, and producing plasma. Its installation started in June this year. The project is part of China's involvement with the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor based in France. The Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor is the world's largest nuclear fusion project with a price tag of about $20 billion, US $22 billion. It involves 35 countries and it is expected to be completed in 2025. It is also important for China's nuclear fusion reactor research. China's first fusion device, the HL-1, was completed in 1984. The Southwestern Institute of Physics is the oldest and largest research and development base for controlled nuclear fusion energy in China. Another research hotspot for nuclear fusion in China is Hefei, Anhui province, where the experimental advanced superconducting tokamak East is based. That device has managed to reach the 100 million degree mark. All right, so shout out to Sis Cheryl. Again, this article, what is this source? It's called Tech and Science, and it's off of abacusnews.com, and the name of the article is China's Artificial Sun. So I'll pause, Brother Sean, before if you want to put something on it before I just give my final little thoughts on that.
Yeah. Now all these, all these countries build artificial suns.
Mm-hmm.
All these countries that are building artificial suns are being caught up in the pole shift.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to get real, real cold.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say the artificial sun does work and does unthaw some areas. What type of nutritional value is it that food source going to have coming from an artificial
light? None.
That's what I'm thinking. But they've already mastered making plastic food, so.
Yeah, true that. True that. True. The other thing, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean.
I was just going to say, so they used to having food with no nutritional value.
True that. True that. And again, those of us that are gardeners, we can tell the difference when that artificial sun is involved, because you can see the difference in your vegetables and your plants. They start to get scorched, and it's a different type of scorch. And the interesting thing about it is that you have the UV radiation coming up from the ground, and that's making a lot of the fruits and vegetables, especially if you're not putting pesticides and all of that on it, grow really huge as well. So it's a lot of stuff going on around Mother Earth as she's shifting. Because as we sit here having this conversation, Europe is getting hit with, they said, one of the coldest winters in the last 100 years. They said that volcanoes are becoming active off of the west coast. Now, I had to think back at some ancient maps that I saw, and all of those ancient maps show where California was an island. And I want to say John Levy did a video saying how, and it couldn't have been, it may not have been him, but I think it was him in one of his videos, was saying that California did not show it being attached to the rest of the Americas until in the 1700s. And how they did that was kind of reverting the water to make it reattached back to the land. All right? So just get prepared. Now, I think it's twofold with Cali. And I wish Sis was on tonight to kind of get her view on what's going on Cali from a weather perspective. Two folds going on with California. Yes, some of the fires that they're doing is definitely, they were starting them purposely to move people off land, but a lot of them, no, because the logic before authority man is tracking those fires, and they're coming from up underneath the ground. They're plasma explosions. He's showing them on the satellite. Plasma explosions as Mother Earth is shifting and cleaning some shit up. So this is another reason why we keep also talking on the spiritual aspect of things, because this is way bigger than a commerce system. All of that shit is so, I don't even want to say that it's secondary. This is all spiritual, and the shifting and the cleaning up. It will happen with or without folks wanting it to happen. And it's happening, right before our eyes. If you're paying attention, if you're in tune. And these are the things that we are saying. Okay, thank you, Scotty Saturn. You said John Levy and Curmeo. I never pronounced that brother's name right. Kurimeo, and forgive me. And you said I'm in LA. Okay, so both of them said it. Okay, I know I've heard that information from somewhere, but I know for a fact that they're absolutely accurate, because if you look at any of those ancient maps before the 1700s, California was an island of its own. What? So Scotty Saturn goes, it was just colder in LA than it was in Atlanta when I went for Thanksgiving. Baby, California ain't no joke, y'all. California, get ready, y'all. Y'all finna see some shit for sure. And what I'm seeing on those satellite feeds, woo, is all I can say. All right, so the last thing on this little article is that was interesting to me, Brother Sean, when they talked about that they were producing plasma. So I also think that they funk asses think that they can use it as a weapon to kind of counteract the plasmatic events that are naturally happening. So get ready, y'all. That's all we can say. Okay. All right. So my last thing I wanted to share, this came across my news feeds, and this is off of sciencemag.com, and this came out yesterday. Early humans domesticated themselves, new genetic evidence suggests. All right, here we go, y'all. When humans started to tame dogs, cats, sheep, and cattle, they may have continued a tradition that started with a completely different animal, us. A new study citing genetic evidence from a disorder that in some ways mirrors elements of domestication suggests modern humans domesticated themselves after they split from their extinct relatives, Neanderthal and Denisovans, Denisovans, approximately 600,000 years ago. The study is incredibly impressive, says Richard Wrangham, a biological anthropologist at Harvard University who was not involved in the new work. It's a really beautiful test, he adds, of the long-standing idea that humans look so different from our primate ancestors precisely because we have become domesticated. Domestication encompasses a whole suite of genetic changes that arise as a species is bred to be friendlier and less aggressive. In dogs and domesticated foxes, for example, many changes are physical. Smaller teeth and skulls, floppy ears, and shorter, curlier tails. Those physical changes have all been linked to the fact that domesticated animals have fewer of a certain type of stem cell called neural crest stem cells. Modern humans are also less aggressive and more cooperative than many of our ancestors. And we, too, exhibit a significant physical change. Though our brains are big, our skulls are smaller, and our brow ridges are less pronounced, so did we domesticate ourselves? Giuseppe Testa, a molecular biologist at University of Milan in Italy, and colleagues knew that one gene, BAZ1B, plays an important role in orchestrating the movement of neural crest cells. Most people have 2 copies of this gene. Curiously, one copy of BAZ1B, along with a handful of others, is missing in people with Williams-Barré syndrome, a disorder linked to cognitive impairments, smaller skull, elfin-like facial features, and extreme friendliness. To learn whether BAZ1B plays a role in those facial features, Testa and colleagues cultured 11 neural crest stem cell lines, 4 from people with Williams-Barré syndrome, 3 from people with a different but related disorder in which they have duplicates instead of deletion of the disorder key genes, and 4 from people without either disorder. Next, they use a variety of techniques to tweak BAZ1B's activity up or down in each of the stem cell lines. That tweaking, they learned, affected hundreds of other genes known to be involved in facial and cranial development. Overall, they found that a tampered down BAZ1B gene led to the distinct facial features of people with Williams-Barré syndrome, establishing the gene as an important driver of facial appearance. When the researchers looked at those hundreds of BAZ1B sensitive genes in modern humans, 2 Neanderthals and 1 Denisovan, they found that in the modern humans, those genes had accumulated loads of regulatory mutations of their own. This suggests natural selection was shaping them. And because many of these same genes have also been under selection in other domesticated animals, now I'm going to read that again, and it's not me making this up. And because many of these same genes have also been selected in other domesticated animals, modern humans too underwent a recent process of domestication, the team reports today in Science Advances. Wrangham cautions that many different genes likely play a role in domestication, so we shouldn't read too much evolutionary importance into BAZ1B. What they zeroed in on is one gene that is incredibly important, but it's clear there are going to be multiple other candidate genes. William Teixeira Fitch III, an evolutionary biologist and cognitive scientist at the University of Vienna, says he is skeptical of precise parallels between human self-domestication and animal domestication. These are processes with both similarities and differences, he says. I don't think mutation in one or a few genes will ever make a good model for the many genes involved in domestication. As for why humans might have become domesticated in the first place, hypotheses abound. Wrangham favors the idea that as early people formed cooperative societies, evolutionary pressures favored mates whose features were less alpha or aggressive. There was active selection for the very first time, against the bullies and the genes that favored their aggression, he adds. But so far, humans are the only species that have managed this. So again, this was off of sciencemag.org. Early humans domesticated themselves, new genetic evidence suggests. All right, so I'll pause, Brother Sean, in case you want to put something on.
Nah, I'm going to leave that one alone.
All right. So there you have it, family. It is what it is. We kind of talked on the show about they're not telling us the truth of the different species that were on the planet, that's currently on the planet, and how there was a lot of genetic manipulation going on the planet. So none of this is an accident that they are putting out this particular information. All right. Okay. So we are going to get back into the topic, the Real Pilgrims, the true story of immigrants coming to America. Part 7, we're going to pick back up with White Trash, the 400-year untold history of class in America by Nancy Eisenberg. Hold on a second, y'all. I was trying to find out where we left off. All right. Bear with me. Okay. I think even if we did cover this, I think it's important that I cover it again. Just to be clear, I'm on page 40. I think we went over this, but I just, it'll be real quick if we did. So we're talking about how folk were coming over here to the Americas, marrying up, and for the purpose of land and cultivating the land. So this one particular thing talks about widows. So meaning, because remember, in indigenous cultures and especially in the Americas, land was transferred down through the woman because we were a matriarch society, point blank and period. All right. So fast forward, these widows whose old man was passing on, they quote got the land. All right. So now whether or not these widows were indigenous American women or whether or not they were European melanated folks that was getting land through marriage, their old man passing, etc. But men found a hustle. So they would marry the women, the widow women, in order to get a hold of that land. And they were saying in here that it didn't matter how you looked, none of that, because it was all about getting their hands on that land. Okay, so, and I'm on page 40. Keeping the land and widows in circulation was more important to the royal commissioners, then impoverishing unrepresented women. Unrepentant women. So in other words, they were saying, so even when the widows were, quote, quote, breaking their laws, telling them to go on somewhere with it, they would still give them leniency for breaking their, quote, quote, laws because they had the power, because they had the ownership of the land. And this is why I keep saying, where everybody's running around concerned about a motherfucking fiat, you're not concerned about the most precious resource there is, which is you, your family, and the land underneath your feet. Those things are the true commodities, all right? Okay. In 1690, English playwright Alfred Bean wrote a comedy based on Bacon's Rebellion, aptly titled The Widow's Ranter. The plot centers on a low-born, promiscuous, cross-dressing, tobacco-smoking widow. She wrongly thinks smoking is a sign of good breeding. Who twice marries above her station. Despite her uncouth ways, she knows her worth, and she tells a newcomer to the colony, we rich widows are the best commodity this country affords. Okay? Now, contrary to belief, I know this Romanist European system have you to believe, the majority populace to believe, that land ownership is in the hand of the man. No, it's not. That is something that came after the matriarch was overthrown. That was not the way of indigenous cultures. Okay? And quiet as it's kept today, the wealth is still through the woman. All right, so here we go. So then I'm just going to jump down. Lady Frances Culpeper Stevens, Berkeley, Ludwell, married 3 colonial governors, including William Berkeley. She bore no children and was consequently able to keep a tight rein on the proceeds of the estate she inherited. She husbanded the land, and you all need to look up the etymology of that word, husbanded or husband. It is not what it is being described as today. She husbanded the land instead of allowing her trio of husbands to control her, right? So ladies, this is to you. And this is especially to indigenous women. You are not supposed to be being controlled. The wealth flows through you. You birth nations. You were given the gift to keep the land passing down through women. Not because it's a hatred of men, but because that is the natural order of things, because we reside on a woman deity. Right? Okay. Nevertheless, Lady Berkeley was a highly controversial figure during Bacon's Rebellion, blamed for egging on her husband and behaving as a treacherous Jezebel by sexually manipulating the much older man. husbanding fertile women remained central to colonial concepts of class and property. This dictate became even more fixed as Virginians began to regulate the offspring of slave women. In a law passed in 1662, a slave was defined not only by place of origin or as a heathen, but also for being born to an enslaved woman. In the wording of the statute, a law without any British precedent, condition of the mother determined whether a child was slave or free. Sorry, I had to drink my water. I'm going to say that again. Now, this was their fucked up laws and statutes. Condition of the mother determined whether a child was slave or free. It was Roman law that provided the basis for treating slave children as the property of masters. The English law of bastardy served as a model for children following the conditions of the mother. It was the case that a slave followed the condition of the mother as far back as St. Thomas Aquinas. The analogy Aquinas used associated the womb with the land. Again, Aquinas used the associated of the womb with the land. If a man visited the islands of another man and sowed his seed in another man's land, the owner still had the right to the produce. The 1662 Virginia law could as easily have been based on breeding or breeder's model. The calves of the cow were the property of the owner, even if the male bull belonged to someone else. Fertility played an equally significant role in defining women's and men's place in society. A woman's breeding capacity was a calculable natural resource meant to be exploited and a commodity exchanged in marriage. For slave women, fertile capacity made the womb an article of commerce, and slave children chattel, movable property like cattle. The word chattel comes from the same Latin root as cattle. Slave children were actually listed in the wills of planters as breeding, and a slave woman's potential to breed was denoted as future increase, a term that applied to livestock as well. At the opening of the century of settlement, English philosopher Francis Bacon noted in 1605 that wives were for generation, fruit, and comfort. To compare a woman's body to an arable land that produced fruit made perfect sense to his readers. The act of propagation and issue encompassed children as much as calves, alike valued as the generation of good stock. Women and land were for the use and benefit of man. All right. It goes by the 1700s. Indentured servants no longer had much of a chance to own land. They had to move elsewhere or become tenants. The royal surveyors made sure that large planters had first bid on new undeveloped land. And so the larger tracts were increasingly concentrated in fewer hands. Then, as more shipments of slaves arrived in the colony, these too were monopolized by the major land-holding families. All right, so I did read that before. So I'll pause, Brother Sean, in case you want to put something on it, and then I'll jump to the new stuff. That just so happened to be the page I thought I left off on, but then I wind up finding my mark.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Let me get a sip of water. All right. So there you have it on that. As you can see, I was not making up the fact that the land, the women, and the children are where the wealth is, where it will always be. Right? So you brothers that, do not understand the matriarch system, think you better rethink that. Think you better rethink it real well. Because at the end of the day, the woman's energy is the one that has been used for commerce out the gate. And it still happens today. All right. Okay, so here we go. I'm on 44. We left off at the bottom page. Okay, I do want to read this part, though. The fundamental constitutions did more than endorse slavery. It was a manifesto promoting a semi-feudalistic and wholly aristocratic society. Much ink was spilled in devising a colonial kingdom that conferred favor upon titled elites and manor lords. It was on the basis of fixed class hierarchy that the precious commodity of land was allocated. Each new country was divided into sections. 1/5 of the land was automatically reserved for proprietors, another 1/5 for the colonial, and 3/5 for untitled manor lords and freeholders. So remember, I told y'all, all you have to do, go look up them charters. And the charter is a fancy word to say an authority issued by someone, in this case, the oldest charters by each state, because each state, even as we sit here today, has its own charter. It is a document saying that this authority gives permission to do business. Okay? That's what a charter is. Those early charters are issued by the European kings, right? And those European kings on the throne at the time were the quote, quote, black nobility, right? And when you read through those initial charters, you'll also, once you get into the subsequent documents within the charters, you're going to see how they carved up the land. And you're going to see how they put their boys in them on. So they put their boys, their mans in them on, and then put their white boys in them on as well. They granted them, G-R-A-N-T, them land. So in other words, I'm going to give you this land for free, but it ain't really free because you still have to cultivate it and make money off of that land, and you have to pay taxes back to the kingdom on the land. And you'll see where they had the surveyors come out, draw the motherfucking pictures of the land, and they'll tell you which land was Indian territory and how the rest were divvied up. Okay? Now, I want to make clear, the indigenous people were not living like that before the fuck shit. So I don't give a fuck about black nobility, and I don't give a fuck about none of that. We're telling you all that to put the truth out there. But indigenous people did not live like that. The land was passed down through the bloodlines because we are caretakers of the land. But this was business for these people. Because it's a Roman system that never sustains itself, because it's against natural order. They come to these lands, they conquer, bring that fucked up ass unnatural system, and start stripping the resources until they leave the land desolate, and then they have to move on to go somewhere else. So, yeah, I'm saying again, no, I'm not supporting none of that fuck shit, because it's out of natural order. All right, so here we go. And the first thing, I know we read this somewhere, it wasn't life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And even Brother 832 said this, it's life, liberty, and a state. Because we keep telling y'all all this shit is commerce. So you're not going to try to convince me and romanticize the motherfucking bullshit. I'm sorry. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you because I don't understand how people think that commerce is a natural when commerce is currency, it's energy. It's the extracting of energy from all life on the planet.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, look at the things we do with commerce. We buy food, which is the killing of animals. We buy houses, which is the killing of trees. I mean, everything that we buy requires killing something.
Yep.
This whole commerce thing is an unfair or unbalanced exchange of energy. So why is only so many places at the top?
Exactly.
It's built on debt also.
Mm-hmm. And scarcity.
Because in order for them to profit, you have to be in debt. But if there was nothing to profit off of or be in debt off of, the system wouldn't float.
Exactly.
Like the fiat currency and getting you to believe in the whole system and thus putting all of your energy into it and thinking it's the system that you need to survive.
Yep. Indeed. Indeed. Because even in Europe, I want to say England, King James had to issue an order to tell the motherfuckers to stop cutting down the trees. Because they had cut down so many trees that they destroyed their ecosystem. So they fucked up their economy in Europe. I already told y'all that what's his face, Louis motherfucking ass over in France bankrupted his shit through wars and then building the Versailles castle. England and them and Europe and all of that, Scotland, Ireland, pretty much destroyed their ecosystem and people were fucking starving. So they needed more places to go. All right, here we go. Class structured, preoccupied Locke, the constitutionalist. He endowed the nobility of the New World with such unusual titles as Landgraves, and the first of these was derived from the German word prince. All right, Purple Pill, be on it. Start dropping them jewels because you're excellent with this. All right. The first of these were derived from the German word prince. The later was Spanish for an American Indian chieftain. Both described a hereditary peerage separate from England's system and an imperial shadow elite whose power rested in colonial estates or through commercial trade. All right, a court of heraldry was added to the strange brew, and overseeing marriages and maintaining pedigree. It provided further evidence of the intention to fix and police class identity. Pretensions, institutions such as these hardly suited the swampy backwater of Carolina. But in the desire to impose order on an unsettled land, every detail mattered down to assigning overblown names to ambitious men in most rustic outposts of the British Empire. All right, so basically throwing titles on motherfuckers to make them feel important, to institute this European system, which is really just an old Roman system. All right. Yet, even the Fox nobility was not strange, as another feature of the Locke-endorsed constitutions, plural. Yeah, this is me saying plural. That dubious honor belonged to the nobility and manor lords' unique servant class. Ranked above slaves, I cannot motherfucking make this shit up, y'all, but below freemen. I'm going to say that again. Yet even the Fox nobility or fake nobility was not as strange as another feature of the Locke-endorsed constitutions, plural. That dubious honor belongs to the nobility and manor lords' unique servant class, ranked above slaves but below freemen. Right? So the freemen were those Indians and probably some of the black Brits in there as well. All right. These were the leet men, L-E-E-T, men, who were encouraged to marry and have children, but were tied to the land and to their lord. They could be leased and hired out to others, but they could not leave their lord's service. Theirs, too, was a hereditary station. All the children of leet men shall be leet men, so to all generations. The constitutions stated, the heirs of estates inherited not just land, buildings, and belongings, but the hapless leetmen as well. Right? So she's basically describing the system, what they call slavery. So that shit you saw on that fake ass Roots, saying Kizzy and them being, you know, the property of their master. That's really what she's explaining, but except the catch is it was white folks in that position, Okay, so I'm sure that some of the melanated Europeans were in that position as well, as they had a debt to pay off. They were getting up out of jail, whatever. But the bulk of people in that position were Caucasian/white folks. Okay, more than some anachronistic remnant of the feudal age, Liebman represented Locke's awkward solution to rural poverty. And so, Brother Sean, while I'm reading this, do you mind looking up the definition for feudal? Because I want people to understand what that means, because that's important for them to get that.
Okay.
All right, so it says Locke did not call them villains, though they possessed many of the attributes of the serfs. He instead chose the word leapman, which in England at the time meant something very different. Unemployed men entitled to poor relief. Locke, like many successful Britons, felt contempt for the vagabond poor in England. He disparaged them for their idle and loose way of breeding up and their lack of morality and industry. There were poor families already in Carolina, as Locke knew, who stood in the way of the colony's growth and collective wealth. In other words, Locke's leapmen would not be charity cases, pitted or despised, but a permanent and potentially productive peasant class, yet definitely an underclass. Okay, so I'll pause for Brother Sean to give us a little definition of feudal.
Feudalism. Feudalism was a combination of legal and military customs in medieval Europe that flourished between the 9th and 15th centuries. Broadly defined, it was a way of structuring It was a way of structuring society around relationships derived from the holding of land in exchange for service or labor.
There you have it.
They also have Indian feudalism.
Come on now. Come on with it. All right. So
Indian
that was the
feudalism refers to the feudal society that made up India's social structure until independence in 1947. The use of the term feudalism to describe India applies the concept of medieval European origin, according to which the landed nobility held lands from the crown in exchange for military service, and vassals were in turn tenants of the nobles, while the peasants, villeins, or serfs were obliged to live on their lord's land and give him homage, labor, and a share of the produce, notionally in exchange for military protection. The term Indian feudalism is used to describe Talukdar, Zamindar, Jagirdar, Sardar, Mankari, Deshmukh, Chaudhary, and Samanta. Most of these systems were abolished after the independence of India and the rest of the subcontinent.
All right. So in the chat, I Am Universe says feudal, Feudal, is futile, Futile. And then Purple Pill drops the definition. That's why I love y'all in the chat room. Y'all be throwing it. Futile, Futile, vain, fruitless, means producing no results. Feudal may connotate or connote completeness of failure or unwisdom of undertaking. Resistance had proved so futile that surrender was the only choice left. Vain usually implies simple failure to achieve a desired result. So, thank you. All right. So, to show y'all the fuckery, we keep telling y'all with these spells, with the words, the motherfucking paper, we're not even comprehending that not only the enunciation of certain words resonate a frequency, a vibration, a tone. Writing does the same thing, casting spells. Then these motherfucking wizards, based on the paper that they write the shit on, that is sealing the spell. That's why words is sword backwards. Because it's sealing a spell. And that's why we keep telling you, you ain't supposed to be using no motherfucking paperwork. Write your own shit. All right, here we go. But did Liebman ever exist? Shaftenbury, Carolina's plantation, which was run by his agent, had slaves, indentured servants, and Liebman of a sort. In 1674, the absent owner instructed the agent to hire laborers as Liebmen, emphasizing that by their concurrence to this arrangement, he could retain rights to the workers' progeny. In this way, Shaftenbury saw children as to his hereditary class system, as did his colonial predecessors in Virginia and Massachusetts. All right, so then she goes on to say the fundamental constitutions, plural, again, constitutions, plural, was really a declaration of war against poor settlers. In the 1650s, even before King Charles had issued the Carolina Charter, I told y'all that. You can go look up the shit right this minute online. It's online. That charter is online. All right. In the 1650s, even before King Charles had issued the Carolina Charter, Virginia's imperious governor, William Berkeley, had been selling land grants. All right? I don't make this shit up. I do my motherfucking research. The first surveyor reported that most of Virginia's images in Carolina territory were not legitimate patent holders at all. They were poor squatters. All right, let me take a drink because I got to go in on this motherfucking patent stuff. I want to be crystal goddamn clear. Let's talk about these patents. Gonna say this again. I don't give a fuck if you have a land patent that was issued by King thus and such, LMNOP, don't motherfucking matter. The land still traces back to the indigenous peoples and through their bloodline. So I'm going to say again, I don't give a fuck about your charters. I don't give a fuck about your patents. The land is in the hands and the caretakers through bloodlines. Not through paperwork. All right? Now, interestingly enough, to show you how things switch around, I want y'all to pay close attention. Now, they was over here fucking around, carving up the indigenous folk land, giving it to the goddamn boys and them. So then, as patents were being issued and grants were being issued, you had people doing motherfucking side hustles. They were selling illegal quote-quote grants. So you got the thief that's stealing from the indigenous. His motherfucking people turns around and steals and sells on the side from him, right? Then in the meantime, you have poor squatters, which were the quote-quote white folk. Now, Brother John, who's promoting squatting today? Now, I'm not going to say this is all of them, but it has been associated with this particular group who's being arrested for it today and getting put out. All right? So these are the ones that are claiming that they went down and filed some paperwork and they have the right to go possess these homes. And so the media is calling them squatters, and then they wind up putting their monkey asses out and motherfucking arresting them. So I want you all to really get how this shit has come full circle. All right, here we go. The surveyors warned that the infant Carolina colony would founder if more rich men were not recruited. That is, men who could build homes and run productive plantations. Landless trespassers who were not servants promised only widespread leveling, by which the surveyor meant a society shorn of desirable class divisions. Locke agreed. Poor Virginians threatened to drag down the entire colony. Shaftenbury, too, believed that everything should be done to discourage lazy or debauched men and their families for settling in Carolina. The proprietors definitely did not want a colony overrun with former indentured servants. They did not want Virginia's refuge. In their grand scheme, leapmen were intended to take place of those who lived off the land without contributing to their coffers of the ruling elite. Serfs, in short, were better than those lazy lubbers, meaning stupid, clumsy oafs, the word that came to describe the vagrant poor of Carolina. So, Brother Sean, if you could do me another favor and look up the meaning of serf. I know we've talked about it, but I want folks to be clear on that as well. So I want to, again, reiterate this picture. It's basically saying when white folks finished up their, I don't even want to say sentence, they finished up their term of being an indentured servant, they were homeless. So they started squatting on.
What did you want me to look up, sis? Sorry.
serf, S-E-R-F. S.
Okay.
So they started squatting on, quote, quote, vacant land. And so the king and them was like, oh, hell to the no. Get their asses up out of there. Because they're not paying, they're not producing on the land and paying back to the particular towns. So we need to start bringing more of our rich boys in them to occupy those lands to stop squatters. So I'm sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean.
Serf, an agricultural laborer bound under the feudal system to work on his lord's estate. Similar, bondsman, slave, servant.
Okay.
That was it?
Okay. Scotty Saturn said, yes, I did plays about serfs in Russia. Ever read 1984? No, Purple Pill. I do need to get that on my list, and maybe that's another series we can do. The Scotty Saturn, is serf, is that term serf, did it derive out of Russia? I think that it did. So just drop that in the chat if it did.
Here's another definition for it. A person in a condition of servitude, required to render services to a lord, commonly attached to the lord's land and transferred with it from one owner to another. One vassal, villain, peasant, under feudalism. A peasant's bond to his lord's land and subject to his lord's will. And that's talking about a king. That ain't talking about God or nobody. They're talking about somebody that's only serves.
Exactly.
Who owns slaves as the Lord.
Exactly.
Or as the Lord's.
Exactly. So, and Scotty Saturn.
From Middle French.
I'm sorry, girl. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Say from Middle French serf, from Old French serf, from Latin service, Proto-Indo-European serval, guardian. That's different. But that's from Watchmen.
Okay. Scotty Saturn did confirm that basically feudalism, serf is basically feudalism of Russia. Yes, and Purple Pill says serf and serve and slave are identical. Very, very good. So serf, S-E-R-F, and serve, S-E-R-V, and slave are identical. Very, very good. Thank you, Purple Pill and Scotty Saturn. All right, family, here we go. Okay, here we go.
Hey, sis.
Uh-huh.
So when people say they're servants of the Lord, they're saying they're slaves of the Lord.
Well, let me drink my water. Well. And that's why I kept saying, you better know what you're calling on when you're talking about these lords and these gods. I'm not saying that just to be saying that. And I specifically said you could take that Bible and go get the Sumerian text. And if you don't want to, wade through all of the different Sumerian text language, go get the Lost Book of Enki by Stitching. You can line that shit up right with the Bible. And it's going to tell you who that Lord they were referring to. It ain't who folk think it is. So, all right. So, Locke's invention of Leadman explains a lot. It enables us to piece together the curious history of North Carolina to demonstrate why this colony lies at the heart of our white trash story. The difficult terrain that spanned the border with Virginia, plus the high numbers of poor squatters and inherently unstable government, eventually led Carolina to be divided into two colonies in 1712. South Carolinians adapted all features of a traditional class hierarchy, fully embracing the institution of slavery, just as Locke did in the fundamental constitutions. The planter and merchant classes of South Carolina formed a highly incestuous community. Wealth, slaves, and land were monopolized by a small ruling courtier. This self-satisfied oligarchy were the true inheritors of the old land graves, carrying on the dynastic impulses of those who would create a pseudo-nobility of powerful families. All right, so Brother Sean, if you don't mind for me, if you can look up oligarchy, because I want folks to understand.
Okay.
Let me see, Purple Pill, what you dropping in here. The Road to Serfdom. I can't pronounce that German name, Purple Pill, is a book written between 1940 and 1943 by Austrian-British economist and philosopher Friedrich Hayek. Since its publication in 1944, The Road to Serfdom has been an influential and popular exposition of market liberalism, required reading for all scholars. So that's The Road to Serfdom by Friedrich Hayek. Yeah, you a mess, Purple Pill. Negroes have never heard of it, unfortunately. Yeah, I actually have, but now you, coming from you, I'm going to add that to my collection as well. So thanks, Purple Pill. You really have given us a lot of information.
Indeed.
Ooh, Purple Pill says, you don't know serfs until you read Hayek. I got you, baby. I got you. I'm picking that up for sure. Okay, Brother Sean, I'm sorry. You have the oligarchy definition.
Yeah. Oligarchy. Oligarchy is a form of power structure in which power rests with a small number of people. These people may be distinguished by nobility, wealth, education, or corporate, religious, political, or military control. That's Wikipedia.
All right. And just so folks know, we are currently in an oligarchy controlled by corporations and what y'all view as governments, but it's still corporations, which ultimately still report back up to the crown. Right? All right. By 1700, we should note slaves comprised half the population of the southern portion of Carolina colony, an imbalance that widened to 72% by 1740. All right. Okay, so that meant if that is true, that meant that the indigenous population then became prisoners of war. All right, but they're masking it as slavery, but okay, whatever. Beginning in 1714, a series of laws required that for every 6 slaves an owner purchased, he had to acquire one white servant, laminating that the white population do not proportionately multiply. Oh, shit. Oh, snap. Let me go back. God damn. All right. Beginning in 1714, a series of laws required that for every 6 slaves an owner purchased, he had to acquire one white servant, laminating that the white population do not proportionately multiply. Damn, yeah, I got to take my fucking step on that.
You know what they're saying, right?
You go ahead on, brother. You go on. Goddamn it, my mouth got dry behind that. Go on and say what you gonna say.
These motherfuckers were so useless, they had to force them on motherfuckers. They had to make you take them. They can't procreate, so they can't make future generations of slaves. They can't stay out in the sun long. They ain't built for hard work. They were useless slaves. And that's him admitting that. So, I mean, if even back at that time, they saying that they weren't procreating at an effective rate.
Yeah.
At what point could they have ever been the majority?
It's not possible, right?
Right.
And according
they tell them themselves.
Yeah, this shit is baby, this shit is deep. According to this 1714 series of laws, they didn't want white folks to procreate a lot. This shit is deep. So if white folks were running everything, to show you how folks tell on they motherfucking self. If whites were running everything, why wouldn't you not want your own to reproduce rather than these black, quote, quote, African slaves reproducing? Wouldn't that be a contradiction if you were running shit? Oh, okay then. Woo! Damn. All right. Child. All right, so let me get back on track. South Carolina lawmakers had one more reason to wish that a corps of leapmen and women had actually been formed, encouraged to marry and multiply, tied to the land. They might have provided a racial and class barrier between the slaves and the landed elite. Now, this shit is deep. She pretty much, within that, she's pretty much telling y'all that it was more melanated folks on the land than white folks. And it had to be melanated folks that were running it. Whew. All right, y'all. I'm just going to keep going. North Carolina, which came, and she also validated Benjamin Franklin's term that every statement that everywhere he looked, it was tawny folk. It was very little white people. So she's just validating his statement. All right. North Carolina, which came to be known as Poor Carolina, went in a very different direction from its siblings to the south. It failed to shore up its elite planter class. Starting with Albemarle County, it became an imperial renegade territory, a swampy refuge for the poor and landless. Wedged between proud Virginians and upstart South Carolinians, North Carolina was the troublesome sink of America. So many early commentators laminated. It was a frontier wasteland, resistant, or so it seemed, to the forces of commerce and civilization. Populated by what many dismiss as useless lubbers, conjuring the image of sleepy old fish men lolling about doing nothing. North Carolina forged a lasting legacy North Carolina forged a lasting legacy as what we might call the first white trash colony. All right, I'm going to take a sip behind that, although I had highlighted that to read. Those of you in North Carolina, that's where your people and them from. I'm speaking to Caucasian folks at this point. You better go back and check your heritage. Because if you think that your folks had land from generation after generation after generation, and y'all came over here as the kings and them, boys and them, you better motherfucking research, because that's not the case. North Carolina forged a lasting legacy as what we might call the first white trash colony. Despite being English, despite having claimed the right of freeborn Britons, lazy lubbers of poor Carolina stood out as a dangerous refuge of waste people and the spawning ground of degenerate breed of Americans. The rivalry between the dueling Carolinas was only part of the story. The original charter of Carolina would eventually be divided three ways when Georgia was parceled out of the original territory in 1732. Did you all catch that? Right? So Georgia was carved out, 1732. The last southern colony, all right, and all you have to do is think about it. The name Georgia comes from Europe. All right. This last southern colony was the most unusual of Britain's offspring. An ex-military man, James Oglethorpe, was its guiding force, and he saw this venture as a unique opportunity to reconstruct class relations. Now, in Georgia, y'all should know what I'm talking about. Now you should know where that name Oglethorpe comes from, because it's a university there too. It was a venture as a unique opportunity to reconstruct class relations. It was a charitable endeavor, one meant to reform debtors and rescue poor men by offering society a decidedly more humane alternative to Locke's servile leapmen. Georgia provided an advantageous venue for the right disposing of the poor in the colonies, which would breed up and preserve our own countrymen. One advocate insisted in refusing to permit slavery. The Georgia colony promised that free labor would replace a reliance on indentured servants as well as African bondsmen. Okay? But Georgia meant something more. Even as South Carolinians jealously eyed the new territory as a place where they might sell slaves and control the land, the colony of free laborers offered a ready boundary and slave-free zone that would protect the vulnerable planter class from native tribes and Spanish settlers in Florida, who might otherwise offer a haven to their runaway slaves. Georgia, as we shall see, was a remarkable experiment. All right? So hopefully y'all peeped that the indigenous folks were given shelter to runaways. All right, here we go, y'all. Woo. All right, let me see Purple Pill shit. I don't be wanting to miss. I'm trying to balance it. What you say? Okay, I am the universe. You said, wait a minute, Purple Pill. Shit, y'all dropping so much. I'm trying to catch up. Tucson City in Arizona, USA, from Spanish Tucson, from Oldham, Pieman, Cookson, black base. God damn it, tell it, Purple Pill. From Cuck, black plus sun base. God damn it, tell it. So that's what Tucson means, black base. Ooh, y'all dropping it. Okay. All right, here we go. North Carolina's physical terrain was crucial in shaping the character of its people. Along the boundary between Virginia and Carolina was a large and forbidden wetland known as the Dismal Swamp. The word swamp was derived from Low German and Dutch, though it was first used by English settlers in Virginia and New England. Dismal, on the other hand, conjured the superstition lore of medieval times. The word was associated with cursed days, Egyptian plagues, sinister plots, and auspicious omens. For William Shakespeare, it evoked a netherworld, as in dark, dismal, dreamy nights. Well, that's very interesting. And Scotty Saturn goes, yep, Low German. Ooh, yeah, they dropping some jewels in this book. All right, so Virginians view the 2,200 square mile wetland as a danger-filled transitional zone. The seemingly endless quagmire literally overlapped the two colonies. There were no obvious routes through its mosquito-ridden cypress forest. In many places, travelers sank knee-deep in the soggy, peaty soil and had to wade through coal-colored, slimy waters dotted with gnarled roots. Little sunshine penetrated the dismal swamps, trees, and thickets, and the air gave off noxious fumes, which were colorfully described as noisome exhilaration, arising from a vast body of mire and nastiness. This statement comes from the travelogue of a wealthy Virginian, William Byrd II, who trekked through the bowels of the Virginia-Carolina borderland in 1728, a witty English educated planter. Byrd crafted a dark tale of an inhospitable landscape and weighed in on Carolina's offish inhabitants. Thus, he was the first of many writers to draw a jaded portrait of the swampy origin of white trash rural life. Oh, shoot, y'all. Sorry, y'all. We're about to go into overtime. So if you want to continue to join us, you have to dial 929-477-3858, 929-477-3858. You have about a minute left. If you're not going to join us, I want to thank you all so much. Shout out to I Am the Universe, God Thompson 42, Lydia, Purple Pill, and Scotty Saturn. It's been much appreciated. You all are really dropped a lot of jewels tonight. I truly appreciate it. So, okay. All right, here we go. Damn, y'all. Where was I at? Oh, okay. On Bird, thus he was the first of many writers to draw a jaded portrait of the swampy origins of white trash rural life. Okay, so basically, they're saying that white folks were squatting in swamps. All right, this bleak region became a symbol of the young North Carolina colony. The Great Dismal Swamp divided civilized Virginia planters from the rascally barbarians of Carolina. Swamps rarely have fixed borders, and so the northern dividing line was continually a point of contention during the first 65 years of Carolina's existence. Virginia repeatedly challenged the boundary as set forth in Carolina 1663 charter. Jurisdictional disputes created a political climate of legal uncertainty and social instability. All right, so in other words, they already came over, chartered the land, carved it up, gave it to their boys now, and now they fighting over the boundaries. All right, Bird's solution to the Dismal Swamp was to drain it and remake it as productive farmland. Later projectors, including George Washington, got behind Bird's idea, teaming with other investors. Washington established a company in 1763 whose purpose was to use slaves to drain the swamp, grow hemp. I'm not making this motherfucking shit up. Everything comes full circle, family. So George Washington's company, this was in 1763, purpose was to use slaves to drain swamp, grow hemp, and cut wood shingles. By 1790, they were working to build a canal, a ditch, as it was more accurately called at the time, to tunnel through the morass of cypress trees, prickly barriers, and muddy waterways. Okay, so anybody that is a gardener, you would know that, once they diverted the water, all they had to really do was throw some motherfucking soil on top of that mud, and you had very, very fertile land. All right? Because it was a swamp, so you had the natural compost. So that makes perfect sense. All right. But notice that they were growing hemp. I told y'all a couple of weeks ago that it was mandated that folks that had the land, that were giving them land grants, had to grow hemp. And some of that hemp had to be sent back over to Europe, and of course they paid taxes on it. Because hemp, contrary to popular belief, before cotton was the quote king of the South, it was really hemp that was the king of the South. And it was more versatile, and it grows a lot faster rather, because you can grow a hemp crop in 60 days. All right? So one day we're going to break down the whole hemp plant so you all can understand why it's circling back around because, of course, it's for a financial reason, but there's also a spiritual reason, because the indigenous ancestors, our ancestors, knew about the plant. We use the plant for these different purposes. Okay, so there's also a spiritual component to it, and we're going to break it down. All right, so here we go. The Carolina coastline was nearly an uninviting, cutting off the northern part of the colony from ready access to large sailing vessels. Only New Englanders in their low-bottom boats could navigate the shallow shoal-filled inlets of the Outer Banks. Without a major harbor and facing burdensome taxes, if they shipped their goods through Virginia, many Carolinas turned to smuggling. Hidden inlets made North Carolina attractive to pirates. All right, so I'm going to just real quick. I'm finna break some fuckery down for y'all. Do you all remember recently that it was headlines made about a slave ship being found off of South Carolina's coast? It literally made national news.
Yep.
I call bullshit then. So right here, it's motherfucking telling you that you couldn't bring big ships right on the coast. And they still call that part low country. So once again, we done busted them in the motherfucking lie. I knew the shit was a lie when they said it. But here you go. Them big-ass ships couldn't pull up to that port. All right, so here we go. Okay, so without a major harbor and facing burdensome taxes, if they shipped their goods through Virginia, many Carolinians turned to smuggling. Hidden inlets made North Carolina attractive to pirates. Along trade routes from the West Indies to North America continent, piracy flourished in the late 17th and early 18th century. Several of Albemarle's governors were accused of sheltering these high seas thieves and personally profiting from illicit trade. The notorious Blackbeard, a.k.a. Edward Teach or Edward Thatch, made a home here, as did Barbados gentleman turned pirate Major Stede Bonnet. Supposedly both were warmly welcomed into the humble homes of North Carolinians. Well, they would have had to be if they couldn't bring big-ass ships into the Carolina ports. They had to bring the little boats there. So, yeah, they would have had to have. So they were bootlegging and black marketing on the side, basically. All right. At least that was what the surly Blackbeard claimed until he lost his head in a grisly clash with a Virginian in 1718. The Albemarle section of North Carolina was comparable to the poorest districts in Virginia. Most of the settlements were widely scattered, something else the proprietors did not like. The settlers refused to pay their quittance, land tax, which was one of the ways the proprietors hoped to make money. By 1729, when proprietors sold their original grant to the British government, North Carolina listed 3,281 land grants, and 309 grantees who owned almost half the land. This meant that in a population of nearly 36,000 people, the majority received small or modest grants or owned no land at all. Most poor households lacked slaves, indentured servants, or even sons working the land. In 1709, squatters in the poorest district in Albemarle petitioned Your Honors for tax relief, pointing out that their land was nothing more than sand. All right, so hopefully those that visit the Carolinas, visit the Low Country, and you know that it sits on sand. So hopefully this is making a lot of sense to you all. All right. A few months later, an Anglican minister reported and discussed that the colonists were so careless and uncleanly that there was little difference between corn in the horse's manger and the bread on their table. The entire North Carolina colony was overrun with sloth and poverty. Worthless land and equally worthless settlers had Virginia officials to question the Virginia-Carolina boundary line as early as 1672, when Governor Berkeley initiated negotiations with the Carolina proprietors in an effort to absorb Albemarle into Virginia. That plan fell through, but it was tried again 2 decades later. Over the years, colonial officials rarely succeeded in collecting custom duties. So in other words, they weren't getting the taxes up off of it. The proprietors faced resistance in collecting, and she literally called taxes, y'all. They used to call them back up in the day, quick rents. This order ruled a British possession in name only. Albemarle County was routinely able to escape imperial rule. During its first 50 years, the errant northern part of Carolina, which had its own government, was rocked by 2 internal rebellions and 1 war with the Tuscarora Indians. The misnamed Culpeper Rebellion, 1677 through 79, is particularly instructive. In a contest with Thomas Miller, an ambitious trader and tobacco planter who wanted to crack down on smugglers, collect custom duties, and gain favor with proprietors, Thomas Culpeper, a surveyor, sided with the poor settlers. Theirs was a personal conflict with broad repercussions. Miller took advantage of a leadership vacuum to seize control of government. Like a petty tyrant, he surrounded himself with an armed guard, while Culpeper rallied popular support and organized an informal militia. Miller was forced to flee the colony. Back in London, he charged Culpeper with leading an uprising, and as a result, in 1680, Culpeper was tried for treason. In an unexpected development, the proprietor, Lord Shaftesbury, came to Culpeper's defense. He delivered an eloquent oration before the Court of King's bench, arguing that the stable government had never legally existed in North Carolina. Anticipating Locke's 2 treaties of government, Shaftesbury concluded that the colony remained effectively in a state of nature. All right, let me take a sip of water because I want y'all to hear this. These folks know what the fuck they doing. They know that this system, this Romanist system, is not in natural order. Peep what dude said. Shaftesbury concluded that the colony remained effectively in a state of nature. So, in other words, in its natural state. Without a genuine government, there could be no rebellion. Commentary like this merely underscored Northern Carolina's outlier status. All right? Culpeper's rebellion was something less than a servile insurrection. The poor settlers' rallying cry of "No Landgraves, no cacique" filled the air. Yet we cannot call there strictly a war of the poor against the rich. Miller's agenda was to stop smuggling and force his fellow Englishmen to participate in the British colonial trade system. His targets were those including modest farmers who depended on smugglers to survive. Class power in this instance was about those who benefited from a greater reliance on the imperial orbit of influence. But Miller had also arrested an unconstitutional claim to the governorship, and by applying heavy-handed tactics, failed to command respect within the political community. Indeed, he was known for his foul mouth and drunkenness oath against the king, which resulted in charges of sedition and blasphemy. He was at best a poseur, at worst a crude bully. In the end, North Carolina aristocratic leadership proved as dubious as the made-up titles of landgravers. All right, so a history of misrule continued to haunt North Carolina. Governor C. Sothel, who served from 1681 to 1689, engrossed as many as 44,000 acres for private gain. He was eventually banished from the colony. Nor was this unique. From 1662 to 1736, North Carolina went through 41 governors, while its sister colony saw 25. After 1691, in an effort to enhance stability, the governor in South Carolina appointed the deputy governor for North Carolina. When a rebellion against Governor Edward Hyde ignited in 1708, Virginia Governor Alexander Spotswood went to war against his southern neighbor. Their conflict triggered renewed hostilities from the Indians, who resented uneasy English encroachment on their land. In 1711, South Carolina intervened, sending Captain John Barnwell north to put down the Tuscareras. Barnwell expected to be awarded a large land grant for his service. With his expectations unmet, he turned the tables and incited the Indians to attack several North Carolina settlements. Even before his betrayal, though, he felt little identification with the colonists, writing that North Carolinians were the most cowardly blockhead, another word for lubber, that ever God created, and must be used like Negroes if you expect any good of them. Governor Spotswood of Virginia lashed out against Albemarle County as a common sanctuary for all runaway servants, and censored it total absent of religion. All right, so I'm going to stop. Now do you all enter and understand how Carolinas became the quote, quote, capital of slavery? She's telling you right there how it happens. The Indians were defeated. All right, you had the white folk who were the squatters, and they got tired of dealing with that land not producing anything, not paying taxes back to the crown. So they were like, the hell with it. It's just going to be a slave or servant colony. They didn't even say slave. All right. He echoed a previous Virginian governor. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I read that right. Shit. All right. So he was saying that it was a common sanctuary for all runaways. So anyway, servants. All right. So folks were running down there, chilling, living off the natural land, and it wasn't producing any taxes back to the crown. All right. Okay. But this is still telling a much different story than what they tell you about the Carolinas and slavery. All right. All right. He echoed a previous Virginia governor when he denounced the place as a sink of America, the refuge of renegades. He meant by this a commercial sinkhole, and with the loaded term renegades, a bastion of lawless, irreligious men who literally renounced their national allegiance as well as their Christian faith. Though there were but few ministers to guide them, the real apostasy of the people was said to be their refusal to be good tax-paying Britons. So I'm going to read that shit again, okay? So you all can see the connection of Christianity and how the ministers were placed there to guide them, right? And they were like, the hell with the crown, the hell with the minister, and the hell with Christianity. Fuck all of that. We're not doing none of it. All right. Virginians constantly aim to keep their neighbor in line. A surveying team was dispatched in 1710 but failed to settle anything. The same was attempted in 1728 when William Byrd II attempted his commission to lead a joint expedition. He endured trying months navigating the dismal swamp and met with residents, mocked them mercilessly, and lustily eyed their women as much as he coveted the fertile land beyond the dismal swamp. He instructed his men to beat drums and shoot off guns to determine the size of the swamp, and crudely compared the sound to that prattling slut echo. Such petulance reflected his general feeling that the dark, mysterious Carolina terrain would never give up her secrets. Yet Byrd was undeterred. A man of letters as well as an amateur naturalist, he wrote two versions of his adventure. One was the less censored Secret History, the other a longer, more published tract called The History of the Dividing Lands Between Virginia and North Carolina. For Byrd, Virginia was an almost Eden-like colony, a far cry from her uncivilized neighbor. In a bemused letter of 1726, written just 2 years before he began his tour of North Carolina, he described himself as a man resting underneath his fig tree, surrounded by my flocks and my herds, my bondmen and bondwomen. Part feudal squire, part modern Abraham, Byrd portrayed his colony as a bucolic retreat far from the vagrant mendicants roaming the islands of beggars, by which he meant England. He pretended that poverty did not exist in Virginia. Shoot, lost my damn place. Okay. Did not exist in Virginia. His slaves were both dutiful and productive. A well-ordered society based on slavery had not only allowed him to indulge a pastoral dream, but had also kept poor whites at bay. Things were different in Carolina. Just across the ill-defined border was an alien world where class authority was severely compromised. Byrd's little band of land commissioners were knights errant, embarked on grand medieval crusade. When people emerged from their huts, staring as a flock at the strangers from Virginia, it was as if we had been Morocco ambassadors. I'm going to sip me some motherfucking water. Sean, you got anything to put on that little last little sentence or anything?
Well, Morocco, huh?
I can't make this motherfucking shit up.
The Moors just everywhere, ain't they?
Woo, baby, he said.
Or they claim to be everywhere. I mean, somehow everything on the planet just about translate to Moor.
He said, when people emerged from their huts, staring as a flock at the strangers from Virginia, it was as if we had been Morocco ambassadors. What does ambassador mean? Let's look up that definition. People don't be straight believing us.
No, they don't.
They straight don't fucking be believing us. All right. Ambassador. An accredited diplomat sent by a country as its official representative to a foreign country.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still trying to understand how's this land, quote, quote, Morocco. All right, then. Having brought a chaplain along on their journey, they were able to Christian children and marry men and women from place to place along their route. Byrd and his party of superior Christians sprinkle holy water on the heathen Carolinians. All right? So, rummy rum, if dude is from Europe and he's going around baptizing children and shit and folks into Christianity,
throwing holy water on them.
Right, holy water and shit. So, how did Christianity originate over here? Wouldn't they be familiar with it already?
You would pretty much think so.
Okay. My bad. My motherfucking bad. I thought all that originated over here, though.
But you know why they thought that holy water was working?
What you
nasty. I say, you know why they used to think that holy water worked?
Because folks was dirty or what?
Yeah, that was that nasty ass bath water it is. That was that nasty ass water from over in Europe. Over in Europe, you come over here with the indigenous people clean, splash some of that nasty shit on them, your skin start bumping up and everything. You like, what the fuck?
Child.
You know how many plagues and stuff they brought over here with them?
Exactly. All right, so he says, here we are. Or so he fantasized. In fact, the Carolinians proved resistant to religion and reform. So again, Carolinians wasn't having that motherfucking Christianity. So I'm still trying to understand how the fuck the shit started over here. Oh, okay then. As Bird noted, the men had an abiding aversion to labor of any kind. They slept and snored through most of the morning. On waking, they sat smoking their pipes. Rarely did they even peek out of their doors, and during the cooler months, those who did quickly returned shivering to their chimney corners. In milder weather, they got as far as thinking about plunging a hole into the ground, but thinking turned into excuses, and nothing was accomplished. The unmotivated...
That sounds like niggas today.
Yeah, smoking in my fucking blunts, wake up out the goddamn bed with they hemp.
Right, ain't trying to do shit.
We can't make this shit up, y'all. We cannot make this shit up. They like, get the fuck out of here with that religion. Get the fuck out of here with cultivating some land with a hoe. And now, in her view, she's talking about white folks. Okay?
Right, I'm just saying. Now we
exactly. That's why I wanted to point that out because, folks wake up with a motherfucking blunt in their mouth and ain't gonna do shit all day but smoke their motherfucking blunt, they herb, may surf the internet, whatever the case may be. All right, but nothing productive. So this shit is just fascinating to me, y'all. Okay, but thinking turned into excuses and nothing was accomplished. Yeah, that sounds real familiar today, don't it? The unmotivated Carolina folks preferred, he said, to loiter away their lives like Solomon's sluggards. The little work that actually got done was performed by the female poor. A motherfucking shame. I'm going to leave that right there. Want y'all melanated people to marinate on that shit. Marinate on it. Carolina obliged William Byrd to adjust his broader vision of America's destiny. For his example of the wretchedest scene of poverty, wretched, ratchet, all right, okay, shit full circle, he had ever seen in this happy part of the world. He isolated a rusticated man named Cornelius Keith, who had a wife and 6 children, yet lived in a home without a roof. What the fuck? The Keith dwelling was closer to a cattle pen, he said, than to any human habitation. At night, the family slept in the fodder stack. Bert found it especially odd that the husband and father was more interested in protecting feed for his animals than the safety of his family. Keith had chosen this life, and that was what most shocked the wealthy explorer from Virginia. Here was a man with a skilled trade, possessing good land and good lambs, who nonetheless preferred to live worse than the betrothed Irish. Bird's choice of words was, as usual, unambiguous. English contempt for the Irish was nothing new, but bog-trodden was an exquisite synonym for swamp vagrant. Damn, yeah. When Byrd identified the Carolinians as residents of Lubberland, he drew upon a familiar English folk tale that featured one Lawrence Lazy, born in the country of Slough near the town of Neverwork. Damn. Lawrence was a heavy hump who sat in his clumsy corner and dreamt. His dog was so lazy that he lied his head against the wall. They so damn silly. Damn, the dog was lazy as hell too. The dog was so lazy that he lied his head against the wall to bark. Well, damn. In Lubberland, you know what? That motherfucking dog would have had to hit the bricks. I'm going to tell you. You're going to have to get your ass on. Shit. So they sitting around smoking weed. The dog probably all day. The dog probably have with them. So have
That's why he lazy.
Yeah, can't even lift his motherfucking head on his own to bark. So he leans it up against the wall to bark high. That's a damn shame. Right. But you know what? Some of you brothers sitting around all motherfucking day smoking blunts with your motherfucking pit bulls. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. All right, here we go. That's a shame, yeah. All right. In Lubberland, sloth was contagious, and Lawrence had the power to put all masters under his spell, so they fell into a deep slumber. As applied to a rural poor who closed themselves off to the world around them, the metaphor of sleep suggested popular resistance to colonial rule. Byrd found that the people he accounted in Carolina to be resistant to all forms of government. Everyone does what seems best in his own eyes. As he further contemplated the source of idleness, Byrd was convinced that it was the lovers' blood. Living near the swamp, they suffered from distemper of laziness, which made them slothful in everything but getting children. Damn, y'all. So in other words, they can lay up and screw and smoke their herb. Basically, is what he's saying. They displayed
Did you hear what else he said, though? That it was disruptive to the government, that they wasn't for no parts.
They wanted no parts of it. Exactly.
But see, it's a lot of brothers doing that today, but they don't have the proper mindset behind it or the proper perspective and not working. It's like how I keep trying to tell everybody that if we just stop, the game ends.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they being lazy with it, but if you're taking that time to get to know and master yourself instead of giving that energy to the system, they feel and ain't nobody hit to fire a bullet. Nothing. You ain't got to fill out no paperwork. Nothing. It just crumbles and goes away as we no longer give it energy.
Exactly. And just with, I'm sorry, Brother Sean, go ahead.
I'm saying it's just that simple, but I guess the act of doing something that simple is so complex in this programming that people can't grasp it. Right.
And just something simple as knowing how to garden and gardening, growing your own food, patronizing as much as you can businesses that have your best interests at heart. Little small things like that will start everything rolling. But contrary to all of that, they know that the gig is up, and only reason the gig is up is because of a energy perspective with Mother Earth shifting. All right. So that is also why, and I know we said we're going to talk about the hemp plant, but that is also a reason why they're trying to bring back, they are bringing back hemp. You cannot go 1 week without hemp being in some type of major headlines, all right? Because they're using it to monetize, okay? But it's also a spiritual thing. It's a very, very spiritual thing, okay? So there we go. So here we go. Ooh, all right, I'm trying to get there, y'all. They displayed a contagious complexion and a lazy, creeping habit. The combination of climate and an unhealthy diet doomed them. Ooh, damn, y'all. Damn. Not making this up, y'all. I'm not making this up. The combination of climate and an unhealthy diet doomed them. Eating swine, they contracted the yaws, and their symptoms matched those of syphilis. They lost their noses and palates and had hideous, deformed faces. With their flat noses, they not only looked like, but also began to act like wild boars. Many of them seemed to grunt rather than speak. In a precarious country, people spent their days foraging and fornicating. When upset, they can be heard yelling out, flesh alive and terror. It was their favorite exclamation, Bird said. This bizarre colloquialism suggested cannibalism, or perhaps hyenas surrounding a fresh kill and devouring it. Damn. How could these carnivorous swamp monsters be thought of as English? Whew, child. I'm finna read this last little page, because then we're going to get into Georgia next week. Yeah, this shit is straight deep. And mind you, family, I have read this before because I got it all marked up, but rereading this shit again, chow. All right, so now, remember I played you all a clip from RT News, may have been last year or sometime, when RT News ran a special trying to drop them jewels on people, that the way the Pilgrims came over here and the glorious story they told you is not the case. That most of them died, most of them froze to death, died from diseases, and they were starving, and they had to resort to cannibalism. All right? Okay. Bird left behind few practical ideas for reforming the God-forsaken wilderness he had explored. Only drastic measures would work, replacing lubbers with Swiss German settlers and draining the swamp of its vile, murky waters. I'm a sip water. Who says draining the swamp?
The Donald.
Okay. Okay. I'm just saying. What nationality is he?
German or something.
Yeah, he's German. Okay, I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
He mused that colonization would have a better outcome if male settlers had been encouraged to intermarry with Indian women. Over 2 generations, the Indian stock would have improved as a species of flower or tree might, dark-skinned, blanched white, heathen ways damned. Here, Byrd was borrowing from Arthur John Lawson, who wrote A New Voyage to Carolina, that men of lower rank gained an economic advantage by marrying native women who brought land to the Union. So don't come to me about no motherfucking bullshit that the men held the land as the wealth. I keep telling you motherfuckers that the land and the wealth sits with the woman. That's some patriarch, European, Romanistic bullshit. All right. While he was at it, oh yeah, and then the nerve that they want to marry the dark Indian women so they can breed out the darkness. So they claim. And civilize. Well, wait a minute, motherfucker. Didn't you just tell me that blood in them was rum being cannibals? Oh, so you meant for the Germans to marry, to come the fuck over here and marry the Indian women. To breed out the darkness. Wait a minute. I thought y'all said the Indians that remain today, they don't look dark to me. All right. While he was at it, Byrd also condemned unrefined whites from marrying promiscuous English women right off the boat. He even suggests satirically, of course, that social problems would disappear if the poor were more like bears and spent 6 months of each year in hibernation. 'Tis a pity our beggar and pickpocketers could not do the same, he wrote. So damn, they was pickpocketing people back up in the day. Bird's view. I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
But he said for them not to marry promiscuous women from Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we see where that saying originated from. You can't make a hoe into a housewife.
That's a good point. And the fact, what he was saying, like you motherfuckers going for those hoes, and when you're supposed to be going for the Indian women, they got the money. They got the land. But the indigenous women was like, you don't get the fuck out of my face stinking and shit. Fleas and ticks surrounding your motherfucking stinking broke ass. You get the fuck on with that, bruh.
Nice.
Right. Get the fuck on with it, bruh. Okay? So, yeah, that's why they was pissed. Not so much that they was marrying, quote, quote, hoes, as they call them hoes. And they probably only called them hoes because they didn't have any land, any wealth. You supposed to have your shit together to be enticing to those dark, tawny, copper-colored, red-boned Indian women. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody want they stank asses. All right. Wow, he was in, okay, we talked about that. All right. Bird's views, if colorfully expressed, were by no means he is alone. And a Gallican minister named John Ermston reported that his poor white chargers loved their hogs more than they did their minister. They let the hogs into their churches to avoid the heat, leaving dung and nastiness on the floor. In 1737, Governor Gabriel Johnson of North Carolina referred to his people as the meanest, most rustic, and squalid parts of the species. As late as 1770, a traveler passing through North Carolina found the residents to be the most ignorant wretches he had ever met. They could not even tell him the name of the place where they lived, nor offer directions to the next family's home. Insular country people greeted travelers with incredulous stares and looked upon them as strange, outlandish folk. These rural poor were a people untethered from reality. Okay, so right there, where's my pen? We're going to stop. All right, North Carolina, or the Carolinas, that's some shit for y'all asses, baby. So next week, we're going to get into Georgia. All right. So, Brother Sean, you have any last words for the family?
Yeah. If you're here, you were meant to be.
Oh.
It was by purpose and by design. But you're not here to believe what we tell you.
Nope.
You're here as part of your journey in remembering self.
That's right.
Or you wouldn't be here. Everyone else is where they are by choice, design, and purpose also. Let them be. Only person you can save is you. And the only way you save you is by finding and knowing you. Period. It's not about no God, no outside being, no one being over you. You are over you. The good, the bad, the in-between. You have to accept and embrace it all in order to bring balance to it. That's how you break your bloodline curse, by atoning for the things that you have done out of balance. Come back into balance within yourself. Your balance isn't dependent upon somebody else, a religion, a god, a demon. None of that. It's you. Those are all titles that you have embraced and were at some point in time. But now is the time to bring everything back into balance, or you will be left in lower frequencies. That's right. By choice. Love y'all.
Indeed. Thank you, Brother Sean. That was beautiful. I have nothing to add, but ditto. I agree with everything he just said. I want to thank you, brother, for rocking with me tonight and just as long as you have, period. Love you very much. I want to thank Brother 832 for coming on, dropping jewels as usual. I want to thank the chat room as usual for dropping jewels. I want to thank you, family, for rocking with me, rocking with us tonight. as we all go on this journey together with the series. So we will be back next week. We're going to pick up and get into Georgia and get into a few other things. So I thank you all very much. Love you very much. And I'm sending you all peace and love, freedom, health, healing, abundance, and prosperity. So with that, we're going to rock out with My Love is Free. Peace and love.